Today is Thank You Patrons Day, and I wanted to make a special episode to say thank you to everybody who has supported my work over the years and to thank everyone for all that they've done for me. As you know, because I say it at the end of every episode, I really wouldn't be able to do really much of the work that I do without your support. And I just wanted to take a special day today to really thank you for all that you do. And if you're not a patron, this show is still for you because I want to talk about what it means to actually support the artists and the creators that you love and that you like and that you want to see more work from. So, you know me, it's going to be more generally philosophical. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's Project Shadow.
I have something to say.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name's Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, especially if you're reading my new book, my latest book, Crucify My Love. And yeah, today is going to be a Thank You Patrons Day, but it's also going to be about what it means to actually support the creators that we love and the many ways that that can happen. And it's not just going to be a solipsistic all about me and here's how you can support me thing, because the most important thing for me as a creator is the community that we develop around ourselves, and that includes the other creators that we support and help as well. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, please do take a moment to rate this podcast in whatever app you're listening to me on. It really does help out a lot. It tells the algorithms to share the podcast to more people. The more people that listen, the bigger the communities. The bigger the community, the better the chance we have of communicating with each other. And that is honestly why I do this in the first place. Because it's not for the money. Because, yeah. It is for the communication. And that is actually one of the first ways that you can really help the creators that you love. Anytime you're interacting with a creator on a platform that allows you to rate and review their content, really do that. It's hard to express exactly how much that helps a creator out. One, there are people that when they go to a page and they don't see those ratings and reviews, they just go away. And so they don't ever have a chance of finding out if they like that person, that work, or not. It also helps because, well, as I've pointed out, most of the algorithms out there take into effect, at least in some proportion, what the content rating is, what the average rating is for the item in question. This is something that's always bothered me over the years because I get to see my sales reports and whatnot, so I know how roughly, and if I actually delved into my spreadsheets, I would actually know exactly, but I know roughly how many people have downloaded books that I've written, have bought books that I've written, have listened to this podcast, and what have you. And one of the things that I found hardest to do over my career is to get people to give those ratings and reviews. Because I think people, one, we like to lurk. It's something that we're really big on, and it's something that we really like doing in our daily lives. You know, there's this idea that people that do things on the internet really like getting their opinion out, and I find that that's true of a small minority of people on the internet. The vast majority of people are lurkers. They're just listening and reading and whatnot, and not participating or sharing their own feelings. And if you really want to help your creators that you love and want to support, make sure, if you've bought their book, to give it a review. Give it a star rating at least. That really does help. Same with podcasts that you love. Wherever they are, hunt them down, give them a rating, give them a review if you can, but at least give them a rating. That helps out immensely. Because one of the things about this new environment that we live in, this new economy that creators like me live in, we exist because of the communities that push us forward and push us out there to other people. I can pay for ads, and sometimes I do, and I'm looking at doing another spate of those again because, well, you can't not do ads sometimes. But the real way that most people hear about a podcast or a book or what have you is because somebody has done a review of it. It's because somebody fell in love with the book or the podcast or what have you and talk it up. And that's really how that works. It's that word of mouth that gets around. And I can always tell when somebody buys my book and they really liked it because I will see a little while later a spike in sales. I can also see that for the podcast. I can see when I get a new subscriber and, well, I don't actually see my new subscribers, but I get kind of a jump in my stats that tells me that there's a new subscriber. And if they really liked it, that will be followed on by a wave of new subscribers. And that really does mean the world to me because that means that somebody shared me with their group, with their circle, with their friends. And that is a huge way to support the people that you want to get ahead in life. Because all that we do in this creative field, and I know that there are a lot of creatives listening to me, it's really difficult to get traction. It's really difficult to break through that signal to noise ratio to get our messages out there into the world and to get people to even know that we exist, much less to actually purchase our products or to, sign up on our Patreon or what have you. It's a difficult thing to do. And trust me, I know. I mean, I've been podcasting for way too long. I mean, something like 12 years I've been podcasting. And it is honestly the hardest thing to do is to get people to know that your podcast exists. Because I have friends that you can tell that they don't pay attention when I talk about my workday because every now and then they'll look up and go, I didn't know you were a writer, or I didn't know you did a podcast. And I'm just like, I've known you for years and you just didn't pay attention because, everybody talks about their work and yeah, okay. But if that's true in your own social circles, imagine how true that is out in the world. I mean, we're being barraged with so much content right now, and we're being barraged with so many people trying to make it and trying to break through that if we're not boosting those people that we want to see make it, then it's really going to be tricky for them to even get out there. And that's one of the reasons why I name drop a lot of YouTubers. Some of them are big YouTubers, some of them are not. Because I watch a lot of YouTube and I want to, promote them. I want to make sure that you guys are watching those channels too, because I think that they're helpful and they have good tips and they're really nifty and whatnot. And that's kind of how this thing works now. Because honestly, with the big social networks, they're pricing out small independent organizations like myself. Because the amount that they're wanting us to pay for ads is the amount of money that a large corporation could pay for ads. Because they seriously want that money, honey. And if you're a small organization, or if you're a small individual like myself, I mean, I do all this. All the artwork you see, that's me. All of the podcasts you see, that's me. I mean, I record, I put them together, I post them, I do all that. Same with the books. I write them. I do most of the revision. I have some people that help out with the editing and the revision process. That's me. The theme song to this podcast, I did that. That's my music. It's actually an old track of mine from back in the day when I thought I would actually do music more professionally, but whatever. That's my song, that I put on there. And that's kind of the thing that we're going for, we're doing this because we want that control over our work. We want to be the final arbiter of what we consider quality work. And that's really hard to do without the massive support teams that people that are more entrenched in the industry get, or people acquire as they get bigger and bigger. And so what you need to be thinking about when you're really in love with a creator, like I love Cybertronic Spree, and I will do everything that I can to support Cybertronic Spree. And if you don't know who they are, they're a cosplay band that cosplay Transformers. Like, look them up. Seriously, look them up. They're amazing, and I love them. And they're about to do their first album, which is going to be a cover version of the Transformers the movie soundtrack, and I can't wait. But you have to find ways to support them and to get their names out there so that other people can find them too. Because without you, we're nothing. And now I feel like I need to talk about the one thing that is, at least for me, the hardest thing to talk about, because, I grew up in a culture where you didn't talk about money, and I don't like talking about money, but sometimes you do. And I'm not doing this as kind of a pressure tactic. It's just something that people have to realize. It's something that people need to know. Nothing in this world is free. I mean, the website costs me money. The World Anvil costs me money. And, making sure I have a mic that works, because not that long ago, my mic died, which was a traumatic experience. And I had to buy a new mic, and luckily there were enough of you supporting me that I could do that. My laptop's like 5 years old, and every day I turn it on and I hope it still works. Because without you guys, we're nothing. When I say I pay for what I do based on my Patreon and the podcast, I really mean that. That little ad that you hear on the podcast, I get a little bit of money from that. I get a little bit from the Patreon. I get a little bit from the selling of books. And that's how I support my business. And I'm fortunate in that, I'm in a place where I don't have to rely on that for my exclusive income, but it is one of those things that I take into account when I'm trying to figure out how to, schedule out my time and my energy and my effort and where I should be putting things. Because, the saddest thing about our current world, and I say it that way because, I'm a big Star Trek fan, and in the 24th century, they have eradicated money so people can just be their best selves and not have to worry about where food's going to come from, because everybody get a replicator, and they don't have to worry about having housing or roof over their heads or heating or cooling or any of those things, clothes on their backs. They don't have to worry about any of that because it's just done because technology. But we don't live in that world, and it can be really hard when you're in the middle of the grind trying to figure out what you should be spending your time on, because we have not only to write, record, edit, and what have you, but we also have to do our own marketing. We have to get our own words out, get people to understand that we exist, which is one of the reasons why in the first part of this podcast I talked about how important you all are in helping to spread the word. But for a lot of artists, finding the money to be able to put this work out there, to be able to break through into that tier where people know that you exist and you can start making a more reliable income off of your work, that's a really hard thing to do. And, I love you all so much, because no matter what's happened with me over the years, and for those of you who have been with me for a long time, like a lot has happened over the years. You all have been with me. You've supported me. I go to conventions and you guys are just wonderful. And, people like me, no, stop it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I couldn't continue on without you all. I really couldn't. It's so hard and crushing sometimes to spend as much effort and energy as I do, and I have realistic goals. Like, I have an idea of how many books are going to sell when I put a book out, because I know how many books I've been selling and ... But, it can be soul crushing when, you think that you've written something that's amazing and it doesn't catch fire. That ruby dust doesn't, hit you. That can be really crushing. And as much as I talk about shaking it off and not caring about the money, because I really feel like if you're going to be doing stuff creatively and you want to, protect your creativity, you can't be thinking about the money. That can't be your first thought. But it is always going to be a thought, given the state of the world that we live in. And that's the beauty of what we have now. We have things like Patreon and the listener support system that Anchor provides, that I use for this podcast, that allow people like you to throw your support behind me. And I mean, I'm just a person in the middle of the country who has a lot to say and a lot of feelings, and I talk a lot with you all. And despite my own misgivings, and I don't understand why you listen, but you do. And it means the world to me. But I can only do that because some of you support this effort. Some of you take your money and buy my books. And some of you subscribe to my Patreon. And it means more to me than I could ever really say, because I know how hard it is to make a buck nowadays. I know how hard it is to figure out who you want to support and how you want to support them. And the fact that any of you take that time out and that energy and that money to put it towards the work that I'm doing, I really don't have words to thank you for that. Because, this is my life. This is my dream. This is all that I've ever wanted to do, is to have a radio show and to write books. And thanks to the podcast, I have my radio show. And thanks to, the various platforms that I can put my book out on, I have my books. And I really do it to share with you all. Because as much as I love the writing, as much as I love the drafting and all of that, those books only really come alive when somebody else reads them. When they make that transference from my mind to your mind, from my thoughts to your thoughts. You make my work live. You give meaning to all of the work that I do on a daily basis. And as hard as it can be sometimes for me to get the work done that I want to do, I know that I have you all. I know that I have those of you out there, both who have joined the project and those who are just kind of visitors to the project. You keep me going through all of it, through the depression, through the physical pain that I often have to deal with, through all of it. You all have been so wonderfully supportive. And while there's a part of me that's afraid that you're going to see this episode as like one big PBS drive, like, give me your money, I actually have Spinal Tap song Give Me Some Money stuck in the back of my head right now as I'm recording this. Just being there is support. I mean, yeah, the money would be nice, but you don't know how much it means for me. I mean, every morning, the first thing I do when I get up is I look at my play count and I see how many people are listening to the show. And then I go through my book reports to see how many whats I've done here, there, and yonder. And knowing that you all are out there just gives me hope. It gives me purpose, because, I'm a weird person. I'm a queer person. And I'm into some strange things. And I think way too obsessively about things. And the fact that anyone, much less all y'all, listen and pay attention. And I know you pay attention because you contact me. So, I mean, you all mean the world to me. And I just wanted to take today, because it's Thank You Patrons Day, to say thank you in long form. And thank you not only for supporting me, but for supporting the various projects that I love that I don't have enough money to support on my own. Like, my world would not be possible without y'all. It really wouldn't. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, and you haven't already, please do rate it in whatever app you're listening to me on. I guess I really can't end the episode without, saying, if you haven't joined the project yet, you can go into the show notes and become a patron over at Patreon or join the listener support page. It really does help out more than you will ever know, because I have so many big goals and so many big ambitions, and I'm just saving up as much as I can to try to get there, because I want to do some comics, I want to do some animation, and that costs money. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has done that. Again, I mean, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. But if you don't have any money right now, or you don't feel like giving, that's 100% okay. It really is. Just listening is support, and I feel that, and thank you. But like I said, if you know anybody who'd like this podcast, do share it with them. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the show, down in the show notes, you'll also find a link to the voice message system. Keep it short, keep it clean, so I can use it on the show. I would really love to hear from you. You can also hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. I am CE Dorset on both. You can find links to everything that I do over at projectshadow.com. And yeah, it's been a gushy episode, but thank y'all. Thank you so much. You really do mean the world to me. Till next time, don't forget, have the fun.